deserve the applause. Now the first best man, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Daniel White.
So flat. Where do we start? Firstly, I'd like to thank Michelle for turning up finally. I was getting worried at some point I would have to marry him myself. I'd also like Stephen to thank the Grange Hotel. Without them, none of this would have been possible today. I really do mean it when I say that Stephen and Michelle will be in your debt forever. And at £4.50 a pint, so will the rest of us. On behalf of my bridesmaids, your bridesmaids.
You wish.
On behalf of the bridesmaids, it's my duty to thank Stephen for his kind words before. I'm sure you'll agree they all look beautiful today, which is a good job, because it's taken everyone's eyes off Stephen's hair highlights. So, for those of you that are lucky enough not to know me, my name's Daniel, and I've had the great honour of being best man today, along with Mr. Towers at the end there. Now, Stephen, or Barry, as most of us here will know him, which was a nickname he got at school, following a Slim Fast advert that was running at the time. It's probably a bit of an omen. He's been a good friend of mine, as he says, for about 24 years. So I think that qualifies me to tell you a few things about him. The words to sum him up: charismatic, kind, generous. Barry is, well, none of those things. So I thought it's probably best if I talk about it through the ages. So I'm going to start where I met him, at Ripley High School back in 1989. So if you bear with me a second, I'll just give you a glimpse of what I was presented with back then. Stephen was a good-looking guy. In fact, I tell a lie with the aid of a good plastic surgeon. There you go, Barry. You can keep them as a souvenir.
Thank you.
Jokes don't get any better, I'm afraid.
Oh, no.
Now, we met at Ripley through a mutual love of sport. That was avoiding sport at all costs. Now, there's only so many times you can forget your PE kit, so we actually resorted once to writing letters from each other's mums to get us out of the PE. And for years, the teacher thought my mum had the worst handwriting in the world. Right?
Yeah.
But the bonus to come out of that was I can still do a good Hazel Bethel signature. Will come in handy later at the bar, I'm sure. Now, we were all in a lot of the same lessons, and one of those lessons was chemistry. And one chemistry lesson I'll never forget, you wouldn't get it now with health and safety, but we were testing how flammable liquids were. Honestly. We had a test tube wrap of flammable liquids, and we sat at a big long bench like this, and Barry announced using his trademark hand-over-mouth technique. For those of you that haven't witnessed this, if he wants to tell you something slyly so no one else can hear, he covers his hand over his mouth, but triples the volume at the same time, so everyone else can hear as well. So anyway, he makes his line of destruction down the bench, and Mr. Hillman, who was about 103, comes over and lights the Bunsen burner, and everyone was on the edge of the seat because he'd used his hand-over-mouth technique. How he made his trail, Mr. Hillman walked off, and he lit it. Now, what he hadn't took into account was that the bench was A, wooden. And B was a chemistry pencil soaked in every chemical ever made. So needless to say, when he lit it, it lit well. Now, shocked with the 3-foot flames he created on this bench, Barry jumps back, spills the test tube all down his polyester school jumper. Mr. Hillman looks around, sees Barry going up like a wicker man. Has to run over, smash the fire alarm, spray everyone with foam. Barry's running around like this. And at the end, Barry was marched off to the headmaster and a few to the nurse. And we never saw him again in chemistry. He barred from chemistry for life. Quite an achievement for a man that's now in charge of first aid at work. Anyway, we decided to punish the teachers by doing A-levels. And although it started off well for Barry, he decided it was better crack in the common room where everyone was having the free period. So he decided to drop A-levels like hot bricks. To the point where he's doing half an A-level, which meant him doing about 4 hours work a week.
Yeah.
So similar to what he does now. The head of sixth form said, you may as well bugger off and get a job. She did. Before he went, he said, I'm glad I'm going, I'm struggling with my AS electronics. I said, what's that about? How hard can it be putting a red wire with a red fuse and a green wire with a green diode and so on? He announces me, well, don't tell anybody, but I'm colourblind. Great skills for an electrician, that colourblind. I would say at this point he discovered, like the rest of us, women, but that would be a lie. Instead, Barry discovered cigarettes and alcohol. Yes, he's not always been the guy you see sat before you now, the slick-looking professional man there. This... Oh, the guy that falls asleep in nightclubs. The guy that can't finish what he starts. The guy that owns a pub. This was the era he was so stealth-like round the dance floor, the DJs nicknamed him the Fox. Many of you have probably seen him staggering around liquid, covered in Jack Daniels, with his neck bent like this, into the kill. In fact, you'll remember that was your first tape shot. Somehow, he managed to get a job. Thankfully, there was a firm willing to take him on, and that turns me into my next phase, Barry Bethel, digger doctor. Take the top off.
Oh, God. It's actually happening. I think it really is happening, isn't it?
Who's took my sleeve out? I'm alright. With practice.
With practice.
Yes, Dennis Barfield was the proud owner of a brand new apprentice. Now, how he got the job, he never did say. To be fair, we'll never know. But if I remember rightly, when we all left school in the 90s, we had a national record of achievement. This was an A4 folder, and it had all your hopes and dreams in it. All the teachers wrote something good, and if they couldn't write anything good, they weren't allowed to write anything. It was a result, Barry. Sadly, I couldn't, you'll be pleased to know this, I couldn't get hold of his national record of achievement. Until last week. Thanks, Michelle. I will just say these are actual comments made by teaching staff.
Oh my God!
Stephen is a pleasant lad, a little slow. There are increased signs of confidence with his oral work. A note from chemistry, Stephen is now aware of safety procedures. Steve's progress is only hampered by his speed. He needs to slow down. As I've heard that said somewhere before. Stephen also wrote some comments down himself. These are selling points for him to take to an interview. He's going to get the job with these. 1. I can use a fax machine. 2, I have used a calculator. And the clincher is going to get him the job. I once had to weigh a cow very accurately. All valid reasons to take someone on, I suppose. But over the years, we all thought it must be due a sack. At the time we went to a fancy dress party and slept there over late for work, went and did a full day's work behind the party desk dressed in fancy dress. But the most concerning thing for me over the years has been the number of times he's exposed himself. Let's have a show of hands. Who's seen more of Barry than they would have liked to have done?
Beautiful!
For example, one day, walking home from Walton Grange nightclub, walking through Carnforth, sees a car coming towards him and recognises it's one of his friend's mums. Pulls over, the window goes down, neck goes in. He's expecting her to say, do you want a lift? And she said, well, Stephen, I've just pulled over to tell you I think it's disgraceful. I don't even think if you know yourself. But your willy's hanging out. At his 21st birthday party, it was out for all his friends and family to enjoy. Another night, a charity night, I was refused entry to a nightclub, and when I asked the doorman why, he said, ask your mate. I was horrified to look across and see Stephen starfished, with his bits pressed up against the glass window. People were trying to have a meal. I thought, to be honest, one night I was talking to Michelle about this, and to be fair, she had had a few wines, and she let slip that he's so fond of his thing that it has a name. It's called Perky. Yes, I laugh too. Now, I haven't seen Perky for a while. I can only presume that he's been engaged and now married. He probably hasn't got a use for it anymore. So, I thought on this special day, it's only fitting that I acknowledge the relationship between Barry and Perky at this time, where they're probably no longer as close as they used to be. Little Pop. Dear Perky, I don't think I like you anymore. You used to watch me shaving, but all you do is stare at the floor. Oh, dear Perky, I don't like you anymore. It used to be just you and me, a paper towel and a case magazine. That's all we needed to get by. Now it seems things have changed, and I think driving the diesel's to blame. Dear Perky, I don't like you anymore. And Perky says, dear Barry, I don't think I like you anymore. Because when you get to drinking, you take me places I've never been before. Oh dear Barry, I don't like you anymore. Why can't we get a grip? Like your man and pug relationship? Come to terms with how we truly feel. If we could just put our heads together, we'd probably just stay home forever. Oh dear Barry, I think I like you, after all.
Oh.
Of course, over the years there have been countless episodes of Barry doing stupid stuff, most of which he's banned me from telling. Well, I've come up with a cunning plan for that, which myself and Mr Towers will do in a bit. So, thank you very much, and for Barry, the current years, from the lowdown on the stag do, I'll give you the other best man.
Right, I have no fancy dress, nothing at all, absolutely no fancy dress, other than a few little presents for Barry. I've got a little gimp mask. A few people might know what that's about. Put it on. Yeah. To go with it, I've got a buy it now condom from eBay, because that's where he buys all his stuff. Just a little bit of a added aid for later. He likes to enjoy himself when he's by himself.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you stories about them now. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I think Daniel's done a brilliant job, and I don't know how I'm going to follow it, but I'm going to try. So first things first, I've got some thank yous, the same as Daniel. I'd like to thank Barry for bestowing the honour of me of being best man. It's been one of the most heartfelt moments of my life when he told me that. I did find out that he'd asked Trap first, which sort of pissed on my chips a bit. But I took the job anyway.
Yeah.
I've lots of things to thank Barry for over the course of our friendship. If it wasn't for Barry staring at Kel's friends, big buckets and back actor, I would never have met my beautiful, charming, witty, adorable, stunning... Kel wrote this. Barry's made it difficult for me, choosing two best men. How do you do it? Between me and Daniel, he sort of turned it into what can only be measured as a sort of a dick measuring competition between the two of us. Definitely win. I thought long and hard about this speech and how I was going to deliver it. I didn't know where to start, so I went to Richard here, who's the default best man for everyone soon. In fact, there's 8 people in this room that he's been best man for, if you count them. So what he did was, he told me to stand here, take a deep breath, count to 10, slowly look around the room. As I'm looking around the room, I've got to imagine you all naked. Right, couldn't just move the napkin, could you, sweetheart? See, you've had your hair done. Well done. To be fair, I don't need X-ray vision to know that Mr. Duckett's sat over there, and underneath that very fine suit, he's actually got women's underwear on. If you find a pint later at the bar, I reckon he'll show you as well.
Half pint.
Half pint. Most best men get to walk down the aisle with a beautiful bridesmaid. What did I get? I got a dog. Sort of tells you a story, really, doesn't it? But to be fair, the dog could do with a good iron. It had a face that was all squished up. But even with that face, he looked better in a suit than I do.
Oh.
It's not true, Sam.
Oh,
It's a lie.
From the look Barry gave me when I handed him his little present, he could have sort of really shit himself. But talking about that, Barry has previous. Alright, Lancaster, on one drunken Christmas Eve. We do Christmas Eve quite well. Barry had an unfortunate little accident. He followed through. But not only did he do that, he was wearing a Santa suit at the time. So there was no other situation. He had to go back to Park Safe, where there's CCTV cameras everywhere. And what did he do? He gave the parking attendant an unexpected little present. Barry was stood there like a 4-year-old, shoes on, socks on, trousers off, wiping his ass with a Santa beard. It's nice to see several years later, we've all changed, we've all grown up. That's right, Barry, you haven't, have you? Because on the stag do, Barry chose another unfortunate CCTV secure location where there was going to be another small little accident where all I can say was, at the cash machine in Port Banús, Barry was making a deposit as well as making a deposit. On another drunken Christmas Eve, or maybe it was even the same one, Barry turned up with his usual carry bag of souvenirs, novelties and party tricks. He'd been to Ann Summers for some last-minute Christmas shopping. Along with his special Christmas present that he's bought his bride-to-be, he announced that he didn't like that horrible post-sex smell in the room that you get. So what he'd bought, Ann Summers had come up with this great invention, room deodorizer. The substance that Barry had actually bought was more for ease and less for breeze. Because the substance was amyl nitrate that he'd unawareingly bought, which is otherwise known as poppers. Barry likes dressing up. Another good example of this is the time that everybody dressed as the three musketeers. Sorry. Barry had gone all out. Tights, wig, feather in the cap. He even had a sheathed weapon. He also had a sword. Only to be stopped by Lancaster's finest for doing a 17-year-old's trick. He had his front fog lights on and spinning the wheels. Barry, on seeing the blues and twos, pulled over and dutifully got out of the car. Reaching back in, he pulls his cap on with his feather. Goes back in, gets his sword, walked over to the police officer. The police officer looked quite stern at Barry. Quite thin, for about 3 seconds, until he broke down in tears and crumpled back into his car in a fit of laughter at what was presented to him. Barry was let off with a warning, but I think the warning was more for his dodgy tights than the dodgy lights. Barry has for the last 17 years worked at Dennis Barnfield's and would like to stay working at Dennis Barnfield's. But there is a few little mistakes that he's made. One of them happens to be Barry Digger Doctor, apprentice mechanic, ginger haired, when he had ginger hair, set across the yard, driving his digger across, not realising that the 2 feet were down. As he ploughed across the yard, leaving 2 foraging ruts along the way, everyone came out of the workshop shouting at Barry, "Put your legs up! Put your legs up!" The digger still carried on driving down the yard at the same slow speed, with the apprentice mechanic with his feet on the dashboard. Right, I've destroyed him enough now. I'd like to say that after all this, he is my best friend. He's always will be my best friend. We wouldn't have half the parties without Barry organising it. He's the party organiser for everyone. I love him to pieces. He's my best mate. I'm sorry about what I've said about him, but... So there you go, Barry.
Thank you, Bal.